I'm going to talk about a program in Ohio that's a little bit more specialized than the broader programs that have been described, and I want to leave a little bit of time for Sue to describe programs that the Ohio Department of Development has. My name is Mark Shanahan. I'm the Executive Director of the Ohio Air Quality Development Authority. We are an independent state agency that provides financing assistance to companies that make investments in air quality facilities in the state of Ohio. Air quality facility has been a definition that has grown substantially over our history. It started out very narrowly defined as air pollution control, end-to-pipe things. If you have a business that has emissions that need to be controlled or you want to control them, we can help finance the equipment that does that. That was then expanded, recognizing that just catching it after you create it may not be the best business model. Perhaps we should try to help people prevent the emission from being created. So we do air pollution prevention equipment as well. An example of that in many paint shops. We've seen paint shops shift from an oil-based paint to an aqueous or powder line. We can finance the new powder line. We then moved on and added energy efficiency and conservation as an eligible activity. So very, very congruent with what Jim described in terms of what USDA is doing. If you're making an investment that improves energy efficiency or conserves energy in your business operations, that is an eligible activity. It can go everywhere from, as Jim said, the lights, which have a nice quick turnaround, to a full system redesign of your HVAC system. We've done a number of those projects, and we've done them with a number of different financing structures. The next addition to our eligible criteria was biofuel production facilities, so ethanol, biodiesel, and now an increasing amount of biomass. Feedstock, we can finance those facilities. Those facilities are 100% eligible. And then our most recent change, the state in the last year signed into effect an advanced energy portfolio standard requiring Ohio investor-owned utilities to supply at least 25% of their electricity in Ohio from advanced energy technologies by the year 2025. And when we set that requirement, we also provided some assistance to finance the deployment of those technologies and made those advanced technologies completely eligible for our financing, not just the air pollution control portions, but the entire technology. And righting a wrong that we have railed about throughout our existence, our program was always able to help you buy that thing that controlled the pollution, but we couldn't help you if you produced that technology here in Ohio. And that always seemed a little backwards to us, that we could help you buy stuff from other places, but we couldn't help you make it here to sell it to other places. That's been fixed, and now for all those advanced energy technologies, we are able to not only help somebody who has to buy the technology, we can finance the production of the component parts of that technology here in Ohio, which we think offers tremendous opportunities. How do we do that? We do it through something called project revenue bonds. Usually that is something that's thought about as useful for large projects, and a traditional bond structure is indeed something that is most useful if your project is $5 million or above, because the transaction costs are high given all the players that have to come to the table, and every player brings legal counsel, and all the legal counsel have to get paid, and so it runs up the transaction costs. We do those. We have done projects as big as $400 or $500 million. Those require all those bells and whistles to be saleable in the market. But we've also done deals that look much more like straight business loans, working with an individual lender and an individual business to package the deal together and get the job done. And using that kind of a structure, we've done deals as small as $14,000. So the range of our experience is from $14,000 to above $400 million. If you're anywhere in there, or maybe even on the other side of both of those ends, we can try to figure out a way to work with you. We've also done lease structures, operational leases as well as capital leases as well as synthetic leases to keep a capital purchase off the books. One of the things that is important, particularly in energy efficiency and conservation, is can you figure out a way to essentially make a capital investment in terms of new equipment, but pay for it out of your operating budget. Those are performance-based contracts, and what you wind up doing, if it's structured correctly, is you pay for the project out of the savings to your energy costs in the business. So you get the capital investment, but you pay for it with savings out of your operating budget. And if you've got a company that splits those out and has different approval processes for each, very frequently it's easier to get the operating cost expenditure approved than it is to get a capital investment approved. And you don't have to compete against other capital investments the company needs to make, because we think it's really foolish to do that if in fact it's an investment that's going to pay for itself and is necessary for the basic operations of the company. So we have a lot of flexibility in terms of size, in terms of structure. Why do you want to do us? If you come through us, we have the ability to issue either tax-exempt or taxable debt, federally tax-exempt or federally taxable debt. That means that if you meet federal requirements for tax-exempt financing, we can get you lower cost financing because the interest payments on the loan are exempted from federal income tax. There are a number of specific areas that are allowable for that, and also manufacturing under $10 million. And so a manufacturing operation with debt less than $10 million can get federal tax-exempt status, save you on the interest rate, and expand the market of potential lenders who want to get a piece of tax-exempt financing in their portfolio. Whether it's federally tax-exempt or not, all of our financing is state tax-exempt. So if your lender is based in the state, they will not pay any state taxes on the interest payments on your loan. That can be an incentive to the lender to do the deal. Again, sometimes they will pass that savings through to you. That could be as much as an extra half point off your interest rate, and that could make the difference in a deal. So those are possible. In addition to that, anything that is the result of proceeds of our bonds, so anything that is the proceeds of the loan, is exempt from taxation in the state of Ohio. And what that means is you're exempt from all property taxes and the sales and use taxes associated with what you've purchased. It's a 100% exemption, and it stays in place for as long as any part of the debt is outstanding. And again, we've done everything from pollution control equipment at electric utility scale generation stations down to helping neighborhood dry cleaners and auto body paint shops install equipment that they need to have in place to meet requirements. We also have a program that's designed to help small businesses that may have emissions that are subject to regulation. It's called the Clean Air Resource Center, and what we can do is, we're not the regulatory agency. We can answer your questions about whether or not you're subject to regulation, whether or not you have a situation in your business that may or may not be problematic, and we can keep that information confidential. And in fact, the Ohio EPA is prohibited by state law from using any of that information in an enforcement action against your business. So we're able to get the information we need to answer your question. To be honest with you, we will go and get that information from the regulators to make sure that you don't get caught in the box of having us say one thing, the regulator say something opposite. Not that that would ever happen in state government. But we don't want you to be the victim of two state agencies squabbling about an interpretation. So we get the information from them. We don't have to tell them on whose behalf we're making the request. We can convey that to you, and then hopefully eventually we get you talking to them to resolve any problem that's there or to make sure you're in compliance. For a lot of smaller businesses, to be perfectly honest, the biggest challenge, the biggest compliance problem they have is paperwork compliance. It's not what they're actually doing in their operation. It's that what they're doing in their operation is above a certain threshold, and so it required a permit. The permit wouldn't keep them from doing it, but they had to have the permit in place. If that happens to be something that's regulated at the federal level through the Clean Air Act, that's potentially a $5,000 a day fine for that paperwork violation. and we can help you avoid that, and we think that's pretty positive as well. The other thing I want to mention, in addition to the financing assistance that we provide, as people have mentioned, there's a lot of money out there right now through the Federal Recovery Program. Some of it's already been distributed and is starting to be put into use. Some of it is still waiting to see what the rules are going to be, so we fully understand how we're supposed to spend that money. Let me flag a couple for you in the energy area that are important to know about. The first is low-income home weatherization. That's a formula distribution to states. Ohio gets $277 million to spend on low-income weatherization. Now, I'm not telling you that because you want to go weatherize your home, although if you're low income, you qualify to do that. There are a lot of opportunities. That money is spent through a network of community action agencies around the state. They are getting 5 times more money than they have ever had in that network before. If your business has anything to do with energy efficiency, component parts, installation, home weatherization, and rehab, they are looking for folks who can supply that material and supply the workforce they need to get that job done. It's 5 times as much money as they've ever had. They've got 2 years to spend the money or they lose it, and so does the state. So we're going to be tracking them very closely month to month about whether they're meeting their performance goals on weatherizing homes. They are going to need more help than their usual crews to get that done. That may be a business opportunity for you. Another opportunity is something called Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grants. There are 2 parts to that pie, and here we get into population issues again. If you're in a city above 35,000 people or in a county above 200,000 people, that city or county gets a direct formula grant from the U.S. federal government. There's a total of about $50 million coming into Ohio into that part of the program. Those cities and counties have received their allocation numbers. They are beginning to file their formal application that will lay out their program. If your business could benefit from a grant that will do energy efficiency or conservation, and you're in one of those areas, you should be talking to them about whether or not their program is going to reach out and help your business, because they're in the design phase right now. They've got until sometime in June to get their fully designed program submitted to the U.S. Department of Energy. Now, if you're in a smaller community, so you're in a city below 35,000 or a county below 200,000, that money comes to the state, and then we distribute it by formula. We have about, and let me make sure I do the math right on this, we have about $28 or $30 million that will go out to those smaller communities, and then there is an additional $11 million that the state will keep of that money and put out in a program. Let me talk about that state-controlled dollars in conjunction with something else. Every state has something called a state energy program. State energy programs can help you with a wide diversity of energy-related projects. They can capture everything Jim described, the deployment of renewable technologies, the deployment of more efficient equipment. They can help you do energy efficiency and conservation. They can help you with diesel emission reductions. They can help you with hybrid and alternative fueled vehicles and the infrastructure to fuel those. A lot of opportunities. I'll give you a sense of the challenge the state faces. The state of Ohio over the last 5 years has, in the state energy program, has averaged a federal allocation of about $1.5 million. We will receive within the next several months $97 million that we have to spend within a 2-year period under the federal stimulus. It's a formula allocation. We get the money. The governor has filed the initial certification to bring that money down. We have to figure out how to spend that wisely and to benefit communities. We're in the process now of doing our planning. There's a state recovery site. It's called recovery.ohio.gov. recovery.ohio.gov. It will give you information not only on the dollars the state controls, but there are also going to be a number of competitive and discretionary pots of dollars related to energy that your businesses may benefit from. We'll have full information up as that information becomes available. The challenge to us is to make sure we can get projects that are ready to go. Job creation is the driving metric. Just to be clear about this, the federal government decided to use existing funding channels because that would move the money in the quickest way. Many of those funding channels in energy have never had job creation as a metric. They have an entirely different set of metrics. They didn't take any of those away. They just said, but the top metric is jobs. So we're doing a balancing act. We're trying to figure it out. And because there is a high level of emphasis on accountability, the Congressional GAO already has teams on the ground in Ohio looking over our shoulders to see how we're spending the money that we still have not received from the federal agencies, and they're watching it very closely. But there is going to be a lot of accountability. It's a lot of money, and the question is, can your business figure out a way to access it and use it to build upon? Everything I've talked about is focused really on energy, and we'll let Sue take a few minutes. Obviously, the Department of Development has a much broader program that goes beyond energy, even though some of those energy programs are administered through her agency. And after we're done, if anybody has any questions or want more information, I'll have business cards and we can talk.
Or a website with workable ideas and things that are likely to be accepted, and how to get them smooth the path of it?
As far as I know, not yet, and it's partly because right now we're all scrambling trying to figure out what the rules are. So we're just starting to see the projects develop that then are workable. I think it's a really good idea to start to share that.
Model projects, so you would say,
right.
They did it in 17 states.
Right.
Here just as well.
Right.
Is that likely to happen? I don't know about it.
If we do anything on it here, you can get it through that recoveryohio.gov site. And that's a good suggestion for something we should add to that. And I'll go back and
get emails from them too.
right,
When new
give you
things are
constant
happening.
updates. Right. Thank you.